So, hello everybody. Tonight I am going to talk about the Arkham Horror LCG. And when I say I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to do something that I haven't done in a long while. I'm going to do a blind teaching myself playthrough. So, the way this works is you should start with the Learn to Play booklet, which I have here in front of me. And this booklet is supposed to contain everything that you need in order to be able to learn how to play this LCG. So, Arkham Horror, the card game, is a cooperative living card game, LCG, in which 1 to 4 investigators work together to unravel arcane mysteries and conspiracies while simultaneously overcoming the personal demons that haunt their pasts. Each player takes on the role of a single investigator and builds a deck around that investigator's abilities. A series of interrelated scenarios creates a narrative campaign through which a broader mystery is unraveled. In each of these scenarios, the investigators move through and explore a number of menacing locations, look for clues that enable them to advance the story, and attempt to evade or defeat the treacherous forces of the mythos. As progress is made in the campaign, each investigator gains experience, insight, which allows the character to develop in a variety of ways by adding a powerful new high-level cards to his or her own deck. But beware, as one's exposure to the arcane world increases, so too does the risk of insanity. The investigators must protect themselves against the tightening grip of madness, all the while attempting to survive and solve the mystery. Using this book. This Learn to Play book is written as an introduction to Arkham Horror, the card game, for new players. It should be used as a guide while learning and playing the first game. We recommend that new players learn the basics of the game using the introductory scenario and the pre-constructed decks described in the Investigator starter decks on page 4. The end of this book also contains an introduction to campaign play and rules for customizing original decks. A quick reference of keywords, icons, and important game symbols can be found on the back cover of this book. Let's take a look. Yes, here we are. Keywords: aloof, fast, hunter, massive, peril, retaliate, surge, uses X, instructions, spawn prey, timing triggers, and here we have the different symbols per investigator: guardian, seeker, mystic, rogue, survivor, intellect, combat, agility, wild, and the chaos tokens down here. Okay, good. So the complete rules of play can be found in the rules reference book, which also addresses more advanced topics such as the interpretation of card text, the resolution of timing conflicts, and a detailed phase sequence. We recommend that new players become familiar with the game using the Learn to Play playbook and only look at details in the rules references as they occur in play. So we're not going to discuss what a living card game is. We're just going to look at the components next. So some of these we are familiar with. Here we've got damage tokens and horror tokens. Up here we've got the chaos tokens, which are used in the chaos bag. Resource tokens, clue tokens, and doom tokens, which are basically double-sided. 5 investigator mini cards, 5 investigator cards, 119 player cards, player reference, asset card, skill card, event card, weakness card. And here we have the scenario cards, agenda card, act card, scenario reference card, location card, double-sided, enemy card, and treachery card. First game setup. To set up the first game, perform the following steps. Choose investigators. Each player chooses an investigator and places that investigator's card in his or her play area. For the first game, it is recommended that one player uses Roland Banks And if there is a second player, which there isn't, it is recommended that the player use Wendy Adams. Choose one of those investigators to be the lead investigator. This doesn't really enter into it because we will only be playing one investigator. Assemble and shuffle the player decks. The cards used in each of the recommended investigator starter decks are detailed in the investigator starter decks sidebar, which is down here. Now, there is actually quite a lot of cards in here. So let's just take the cards that come with the game, and let's do as we are told. First of all, we take the investigator that we're told to take, and that is Roland Banks, the Fed. Let's look at him. After you defeat an enemy, you discover one clue at your location, limit once per round. Okay. At the back we have some information on this particular character. Deck size 30, deck handling, deck building options, guardian cards, deck building requirements, do not count toward deck size. Roland's 38 special, cover up, and 1 random basic weakness. Okay. Roland had always taken comfort in procedures and rules. As an agent in the Bureau, he was relieved to have guidelines to follow in any given situation, but lately his Federal Agent's Handbook had been entirely unhelpful given the cases that he'd been assigned to. Try as he might, Roland could not find any mention of what to do when confronted with strange creatures, gates through time and space, or magic spells. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed it, and there's no way his superiors would understand. Roland knew he would have to handle this one himself. Okay, so let's look at the actual cards. Okay, so these are the action cards. So these are the round sequence cards. So we will take one of these. These don't seem to be player cards. Well, I've not really familiarized myself with this, so this is learning as we go along. So let's see. Aha. Here we've got Roland's 38 special. So I have to say that all of this is printed really tiny print, so I'll have to take this to the side. Okay, so in order to build Roland's deck, we have to add the following cards. The 38, which is card number 6, which you can probably see down here. It says, oops. It says 6 down here. Very tiny. Okay, we also need to bring in cover up. The 45 automatic. The 45 automatic. We also need to ensure, because some of these have multiple copies, that none of these have pips up here. So this one doesn't have any pips here. So that's the 45 automatic. Physical training. Again, no pips. Beat cop. First aid. Machete. Guard dog. Evidence. Dodge. Dynamite blast. Vicious blow. They all seem to be kind of ordered and they all have something in common. They're all blue, so I take it that blue is probably the Fed symbol in a way. This is just me. I don't know. I am just surmising here. Okay. Vicious blow, magnifying glass. Old book of law. Research librarian. Dr. Milan Christopher. Hyper awareness. Medical texts. Mind over matter. Working a hunch. Barricade. Deduction. 2 copies of knife. Again, always making sure that there are no pips. 2 copies of knife, 1, 2. 2 copies of flashlight, 1 and 2. 2 copies of emergency cash, 1, 2. 2 copies of guts. That sounds disgusting if you were to take it literally. And 2 copies of manual dexterity. And paranoia. Okay, so that would be his starter deck as laid out in the game manual. So I think we're good. So we're going to put the other cards away because we are just playing with one investigator. Okay, good. Assemble and shuffle the player deck. So we've just assembled the player decks. Now we need to shuffle them. For those of you who are wondering, these cards are different from the cards that you would get for other Arkham Horror games. They're not the relief kind of cards. They are more like the cards you would get with the Lord of the Rings. I assume that they're also the same size. I haven't checked. So you would probably be able to use the sleeves, the same type of sleeves. Okay, so these have been reasonably shuffled. So we're going to take Roland, and we're going to take his round sequence. We're going to put all of this over here above the play area. Next we need to get the tokens ready. Got a token bag here, and this is my bag for the chaos tokens. So let's see, we need to put these in there. So we're going to put in and again, I'm following the setup from the book. I don't know if this is specific to this scenario or if you would set them up the same way always. So we have -1 to -5, -3, -2, -1, -4. -1s, plenty of those, -3, -2, -7 even, -3, -8, 0, oh sorry, this is a +1 actually, -1, +1, -4, +1, -1, -9, -5, -2, 0, 0 and -2. So these are the ones that we've got. Whoops, and we also have some others. These ones also are chaos tokens, so we're just going to put them here as well. So all of the larger tokens are chaos tokens, it seems. So just gonna take these, and then we also have one that is an elder sign. So I'm okay. So these are all of the other tokens which we will put to the side for the time being. I really don't like it when you have so many tokens, because if you lose one, you might break the game. Yeah, I hope that somebody will write an app that allows us to put together the chaos bag in a different way, because if you lose one of these tokens, you know, it's a little bit like using, or like having a game that uses particular dice that only come with the game. Again, that sucks. I don't like that at all. Okay, let's see here. We've got different types of tokens, like so. Tuck, 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 tuck. Okay. So now we need to seed this bag. Okay, we take 1 + 1. So I'm going to zoom in. So we're going to follow this. This list, we're going to take 1 + 1, 2 zeros, 3 -1s, 1, 2, 3, 2 -2s, 1 -3, 1 -4, 2 skull symbols, 1 hooded one, 1 unidentified symbol, 1 of this type, which I haven't even seen. Is this supposed to be this one? I guess. And one elder sign. So these others go back in the box. So next up we need to start taking resources. Each investigator takes 5 resource. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tokens. And places them near his or her investigator card. Each investigator draws 5 cards from his or her deck. Set it aside instead of adding it to your... okay. So we draw 5 cards. Gonna do one last shuffle. Gonna do a cut. Take 5 cards. 1, Mind over Matter. Evidence. Dr. Milan Christopher. Working a hunch, that's 4 cards, and 5 manual dexterity. Okay. If we'd drawn a weakness card, we would have had to set it aside. So we now have 5 cards. Each player may take a single mulligan at this time if desired by setting aside up to 5 of the cards just drawn, drawing an equivalent number of cards, and shuffling the set-aside cards back into his or her deck. Taking a mulligan is recommended if a player does not receive a decent starting hand. For instance, drawing no assets would be a good reason to take a mulligan. Well, I don't know what a decent hand is yet, so I'm just going to check. We have a skill, an event, an asset, an event, and an event. I don't know if this is good or bad. We'll just roll with it. So next up, scenario setup. Haha. Let's see. The following steps refer to scenario-specific information for the first scenario in the Night of the Zealot campaign. Read the scenario introduction for The Gathering. So, let's see. The Gathering. Easy, standard. The introduction for this scenario is the italicized flavor text on page 2 of the Night of the Zealot. Okay, oh sorry, it's not a card. It comes from the booklet. My bad. It's the italicized flavor text on page 2. You and your partners have been investigating strange events taking place in your home city of Arkham, Massachusetts. Over the past few weeks, several townspeople have mysteriously gone missing. Recently, their corpses turned up in the woods, savaged and half-eaten. The police and newspapers have stated that wild animals are responsible, but you believe, there's a glare here, let's see if I can, but you believe there is something else going on. You are gathered together at the lead investigator's home to discuss these events. Okay. The scenario introduction provides The scenario introduction provides a narrative hook for the tale that is about to unfold. Pay attention to such narrative passages, both in the campaign guide and in card flavor text, as important details may be revealed that inform or add context for decisions made later in the scenario. Okay, so so far so good. Let's see how we continue. Next, we're supposed to find the scenario cards for the gathering, and the encounter sets used in the scenario area are card identification numbers in parentheses the gathering, 104 to 119, rats, ghouls, striking fear, ancient evils, and chilling cold. The cards in each encounter set have a symbol identifying them as part of that encounter set. In the campaign guide, this information is presented in the following manner. Okay, so this is a lot like, you know, you might know it from The Lord of the Rings, the living card game, where you have different adventure packs that are identified by particular symbols which tell you which is which. So let's see. If we can find these. We're looking for a symbol that looks like a torch. Here we've got one, torch, torch, torch. Then we're looking for a rat type. That's 1, 2, 3. Then we're looking for this symbol, which we find here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we're looking for this symbol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This symbol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And then this symbol. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. So we've now found all of the cards, I believe, that belong to these. Yeah. Very good. When gathering encounter cards, gather all copies of each card in the listed encounter sets. Use the encounter set numbers at the bottom of each encounter card to aid you. Set agenda deck. Assemble the agenda deck in sequential order so that agenda 1A, is on top, agenda 2A is next, etc. Using the agenda cards from the encounter sets found during step 9. Read the story text on agenda 1A. The agenda deck represents the progress made by the investigators. Generally, the investigators do not want the agenda deck to advance. Okay. So first of all, we need to... This is the encounter cards that we just put together. So I'm going to put those up here. And now we want to see the agenda cards. Agenda 1A. What's going on? Agenda 2A and Agenda 3A. Okay. Set an act deck. Assemble the act deck in sequential order so that 1A is on top of Act 2A and then Act 3A. Okay, this is already how this is, so we're just going to leave it as is. Okay. Okay. So that's that. Place a scenario reference card for the gathering, 104A. Next to the agenda deck. So we have the agenda deck and the act deck. I think we'll need a bigger boat. We reference this card every time we draw a skull or a hooded figure or a strange symbol from the deck, from the bag. Okay, so next up is location. Put the study into play. When a location is put into play, it always enters play with its unrevealed side. You can tell by this. Okay. Set every other location card out of play somewhere else. Okay, so this is going to get interesting now, because we're now actually starting to play the game. So we're going to set this up, and first of all we need to read the flavor text. So you've been investigating the strange events occurring in Arkham for several days now. Your desk is covered in newspaper articles, police reports, and witness accounts. Each investigator begins play in the study. Place each investigator's mini card next to the study. So we're going to put the study here. So now I need to start zooming out. So the study is up here. So now we need to start cleaning up the desk. So here are all the other location cards which are set aside. I don't know how this is going to unfold, so we may have to change this later. Here is the gathering. Here is the Act 1A, and here is the agenda cards. Here is the round description. Here is my investigator down here. Here is his starting hand. And yeah, so let's see how this evolves. Here's his starting hand. Here's his draw deck. So we're going to use, well, we're not even going to use the small card because we don't need it, because basically it is just Roland Banks, and we don't really need to say where he is. When an investigator enters or begins play at a location, flip that location card to its revealed side. So we're going to flip this card. It's now going to be revealed. The revealed side of a location can be identified by the presence of shroud and clue values. Shroud value, clue value. Set the Ghoul Priest and Lita Chandler card aside out of play. Okay. The Ghoul Priest. Okay. This may take some time. I'm not quite sure if these are supposed to be shuffled, because at the moment they are not really shuffled, and it could be that this is actually to be the case, that you don't want them shuffled. I don't know, because they have different symbols, and it could be that you're supposed to encounter them in a certain order as you go along. I don't know. So, let's see. Here is the Ghoul Priest. And was it Lita Chandler? Flesh Eater? Lita Chandler. Lita Chandler. Frozen in fear, rotting remains, frozen in fear, dissonant voices, rotting remains, dissonant voices, ghoul minion, ravenous ghoul, grasping hands, swarm of rats. Lita Chandler isn't anywhere to be seen. Okay, that's weird. Lita Chandler is card 117. $117. That would have been from the Gathering. And it would have carried this symbol. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to be back. Okay guys, we've got a problem. One card is missing. It's 117, which should be probably the so-called Lita Chandler. This card is nowhere. I checked every single card. I don't have a card with that number. I've got everything starting from 104, which is this one here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19. And I don't have the card 117. So, which means we have to stop here now, because without that card, obviously, I can't really play. And I don't know what to do in such a case. This has never happened to me before. But I guess I'll have to contact Fantasy Flight Games. And, well, I mean, what I have to say is I have checked every single card. And I'll do this here. I mean, these are not the cards anyway. These are the double-sided cards. But, there are, and I mean, I've got 110 cards, so it means I've got one card twice. Well, I mean, I've got several cards more than once. That's the idea behind it, but as you can see, there are plenty of cards. But none of them is Lita Chandler. So, yeah, I'll have to talk to Fantasy Flight about this. So I'm going to send them an email now. I'm very sorry that I couldn't take it any further, but, you know, we'll see what they say. And then, you know, we'll move on from there. Bye-bye.